Mayong buntag sa tanan.
Morning po, ARD.
Morning. Thank you, Melanie. And good morning to all the participants on board the HR in different parts of our region. Mayong buntag. Welcome to our activity. It should have been our regional director, Madam Opi Opilia, should have to give the opening remarks. But due to some errands and important, most particular activity that she has to attend to, I am immediately asked to give this opening message. Sa atong tanan, ako nang hinaot nga sama sa giingon sa ato ang nag-ampo o naghatag sa iyang unang pag-ampo sa ato ang activity, that we have to surrender everything to God and let this kind of network, the technologies that you have, is part of expressing our love and the gospel of our Creator. Kanunay ako naghinaot o hinaot unta nga kini atong activity, as our prayer would say, would be fruitful and meaningful and be a particular kind of work of which we can be of service not only to our place of work, but also in the universal concept that we are a kind of a blessing because we are God's creation, as in ourselves, in our work, and in our community, particularly in our family. Thank you very much.
By our Senior Labor and Employment Officers, Sonia and Delphine.
Okay. Thank you, Mel. Good morning po sa lahat. So to proceed po, as mentioned by Melanie, no, this is the Department Order 214 series of 2020, no. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, many establishments have closed their business operation. Employees or workers have lost their jobs, no. Madami masyado tayong mga trabahante, no, mga workers natin na wala ng trabaho because of the pandemic. And that also includes, no, yung ating mga processes and proceedings in the department, no, meron na rin changes, no. That's why DOLE issued Department Order 214 series of 2020 that sets the guidelines on processes and proceedings before the Office of the Secretary of Labor and Employment, bureaus and regional offices in areas under community quarantine. So alam naman po natin na yung ating because of the pandemic, meron ng mga various classification of community quarantine in different areas, no, in the Philippines. Now we have ECQ, or the Enhanced Community Quarantine, or MECQ, or yung total lockdown, no, which we experienced in the first quarter of 2020 nung kasagsagan po ng COVID-19, no. So parang there was a lockdown, no, lahat almost offices, establishments nag-close, no, temporarily closed because of the pandemic, no, to prevent the spread of the virus, no. We have also GCQ, General Community Quarantine, and the MGCQ, no, or the Modified General Community Quarantine. So itong ating mga processes, mga proceedings, yung prescriptive periods po in the filing of complaints or whatever po, mga documents sa Department of Labor, depende po community quarantine of a particular place po. Okay, next slide please, Mel. Okay, so with regards to the commencement of action or the filing of complaints, claims, petitions, processes, and other proceedings, no, as you can see in our slide, in areas under ECQ and MECQ, merong interruption with regards to the prescriptive period, and it will only be yung commencement of action can only be filed if the ECQ or MECQ is lifted, no? Pero so far naman parang wala na tayong mga areas under ECQ or MECQ, particularly dito sa atin, no? Dito na tayo sa GCQ. Sa GCQ naman at saka MGCQ na mga areas, lahat po ng mga actions or lahat po ng mga complaints, mga pleadings, mga petitions na ipafile sa Department of Labor and Employment shall be acted upon and processed in accordance with the rules and regulation. Kasi nga po yung prescriptive period under the GCQ or MGCQ is continues to run. Okay, so we immediately take action on the complaints or pleadings na isasubmit sa DOLE. Next, please. Okay. So with regards to the application, no, registration, permit, certificates, or licenses, baka kayo is meron kayong mga if a file na registration under Department Order 174 or yung sa mga contractors, no? Permit to operate mechanical equipment and certificate of electrical wiring installation, or meron kayong for alien employment permit registration or PEA or private employment agency license, or registration of labor organization and workers association, no, except in areas under ECQ or MECQ, naka-X talaga siya, no? So yung ating i-cater lang po ng mga applications for registration and permits and licenses is yun lang pong nasa mga areas under GCQ or MGCQ, no? So upon receipt po of this this application po, we take action on that as in accordance with the prescribed rules and regulations. However, with regards to the with regards to registration of our labor organizations and workers associations, wala namang effect sa atin yung COVID, no, or classification of community quarantine because online naman po yung ating registration under this na area, no. So through our hours or online union registration system. So pwede pa rin po na makapag-register, makapag-apply in any area of classification of community quarantine because nga po online lang yung registration. Wala naman pong physical, no? Physical na pupunta yung kliyente sa opisina just to file their application. Next, Mel, please. Okay. So with regards to the renewal naman po of registration, permits, certificates, or licenses, meron po tayong dalawang option dito, no? If yung registration po expired during ECQ or MECQ, yung renewal po of the registration will be filed within 30 working days from the lifting of the ECQ or MECQ. Okay, klaro po, no? Pag nag-expired naman po yung kanyang registration during GCQ or MGCQ, yung filing po ng renewal of the registration or certificate of license shall be within 30 working days from the expiration of the registration. Okay, so klaro po, no? Yun ang difference from NGCQ na classification of community quarantine. Next, Mel, please. Okay. Due to the yung ating scenario ngayon or yung ating situation ngayon na limited na po yung number of people natin na dapat pupunta sa isang opisina, no? Yung movement ng mga tao ngayon is limited na rin. So as with the filing of the petition or complaints or claims or application sa DOLE po, we have different modes of filing, either through courier services or postal services or with our DOLE regional website or electronic mail or other digital platforms, no? Pero kung meron naman pong pupunta sa office to personally file or submit the document, hindi na rin pwede nating i-refuse, no? We have to accept the documents for appropriate action and of course subject to the observance of the minimum health standards and protocols. Baka naman po kasi sa area nila is mahina yung connectivity or hindi nila ma-file using these different modes of filing. So they have to personally go to the office to file or to submit the document. So we must have also to accept the document. Okay, next please, Mel. Just like the application, no? Kung nakapag-apply na yung kliyente po for the renewal, application for renewal, or yung first timer pa na applicant, no? Upon the release the certificates of registration, permits, or certificates of licenses, it is through by appointment or through courier or postal services, no? I suppose, no, lahat po or most of our agencies and even in the private industry or sector, ganito na rin po ang ginagamit nila, no? By appointment or through courier or postal service. With regard permits to operate mechanical equipment and certificate of electrical wiring installation, the release of the permits may be done to digital platform or electronic mail po. We will just inform the client na ready for na yung kanilang registration, and we may email them in their respective email addresses. Next, Mel, please. Okay. So sa ating mga labor relations concern naman po and labor standards cases, yung ating petition for certification election, request for SEBA certification or sole exclusive bargaining agent, yung inter-intra-union labor standards cases, alien employment permit cases or child labor cases, and even our SENA or single entry approach proceedings, meron na rin po tayong processes, no, na dapat i-follow natin, no. And again, except in areas under ECQ and MECQ, yung filing ng ating mga documents po or yung ating mga labor standards cases or petition, it may be done through the different modes of filing as provided in section this department, no, or department order. Yung courier, yung postal service, or through our DOLE website, or through electronic means, or yung ating other digital platform, no. However, again, if may magpa-file personally, we will still accept it, but of course, we have to observe the minimum health standards and protocols sa opisina, no. Then with regards to the conferences and hearings, we do it sa office, we do it through digital platform, no. Mga conferences or hearings na online na po, no, upon agreement by the parties. But there are areas naman po na may mga problema sa connectivity, no, or walang internet connection. No, we still do the conventional means, no, with in the conduct of conference and hearings, no. However, to limit the number of people po, kung sakasakali yung marami yung complainants, we just ask for a representative to attend to the conference or hearing para naman po ma-observe natin yung physical distancing, no. Okay. And then aside from the from the yung mga minimum health, no, yung sa office, yung conference room namin sa office is meron siyang mga barriers, no. Aside from the yung face mask, face shield na requirement natin, meron pa rin po kaming barrier conference room, no, because even if may gamit na sila na face mask at saka face shield, it's still necessary to have a barrier, no, kasi merong instance na yung kliyente po is hindi lang man isa, minsan dalawa, tatlo ang nag-appear o apat, no, and they have interaction, no, with each other. So dapat meron pa rin pong face mask at saka face shield. Okay. Then with regards to the conduct of certification election, this can be done through digital platform, no? As may be agreed upon by the no, or if possible or if applicable. However, if it is not, then we will do the conventional means, no? All these all the health protocols na napag-agrihan ng parties during the pre-election conference must be incorporated doon sa kanilang election guidelines or mechanism para yun ang basis nila or guide nila that they proceed with the conduct of the certification election with the observance of those health standards na napag-agrihan nila sa kanilang during pre-election conference. Then with regards to decisions, resolutions, and orders, it shall be rendered by the concerned office, of course, subject to the prescribed health standards and protocols. No? Okay. Yun naman po sa yun naman pong sa conduct ng inspection ng DOLE, we proceed with the conduct of the routine inspection, complaint inspection, and OSH investigation. But health protocols po na inisyu ng bureau namin for the safety of our field officers or our labor inspectors, no? And the conduct of the inspection. And also with the conduct of the monitoring of the establishment. Because sa ngayon po, with the pandemic, dalawa na po yung ating means of verifying the compliance of the establishments, no? Compliance to the labor standards, as well as yung sa OSH, and also compliance to the health protocols po ng na-inisyo ng different government agencies, the DOH or the IATF, no, if they are compliant to the requirements or the minimum health protocols na inisyo ng different government agency. This is also part of DOLE's function, no, to check their compliance to the health protocols na inisyo government agencies, no, like the IATF, no, to ensure na talagang hindi natin to prevent the spread of the virus, especially in the workplaces. Okay. Next, Mel, please. Okay. These are the health standards and protocols, no, in the conduct of conference and hearings, as well as the certification election ng DOLE, no. So these are only some of the health standards, no, na sinite namin dito. Okay. Attendees or participants should wear prescribed face mask and face shield, no. So nailagay dito na prescribed face mask, no, because and shield, because yung iba namang pong there are clients po na they are not using the prescribed na face mask po, no. Yung may mga na mga face mask which is not hindi siya tawag nito prescribed, no. So dapat yung gamitin nila is prescribed, as well as yung face shield. Meron kasing iba na who are using face shield na half lang ng face nila ang covered, and the requirement of the IA is yung whole face nila must be covered, no, yung sa face shield. So yun, dapat meron tayong prescribed and mask and face shield. It must be worn at all times while inside the DOLE, no, premises. And also yung alcohol. Okay. Then we also observe physical distancing of at least 1 meter or 2 meters when possible, no. In the conduct of our conference or hearings, as you can observe sa aming office, is talagang meron siyang tawag nito distance, no. Naagani pud mistik didto, no, sa office. Na mistake dito kay gina-measure namo ang gilayon sa kanang first hearing officer and the second hearing officer to comply with the requirements of the IATF health standards, no. Okay. Then attendees, participants in a venue should not exceed 10 at a given time. So ito din po we really ensure na in the conduct of our conference or hearings, ini-ensure namin na hindi crowded yung ating conference room, no? As much as possible, yun nga sabi ko kanina, if the parties involved, kung madami na yung clients nila, or madami na yung clients o madami ang complainants, we just ask for a representative to attend for the conference. And sila na rin po ang magre-echo doon sa kasamahan nila kung whatever transpired during the conference. And we also issue or we also furnish them copy of the minutes of the hearing or conference for them to know kung anong nag-transpired during the hearing. Then we also limit meetings, no, and or face-to-face interaction to 15 minutes, no, as much as possible po yung aming mga conferences and hearings, kung pwede ma-settle namin within 15 minutes lang, no, kasi merong iba na madali lang, no, madali lang maistoryahan ba, makasabot dayon, magka-agree dayon ang parties, magkaroon kaagad ng agreement, no? And we will be able to settle the issue less than 15 minutes. Pero meron din naman pong mga hardcore, kumbaga, no, ng mga clients na mahirap pakiusapan, no? Hindi sila magka-agree and it will take time, no, sa hearing officer for na ma-explain sa kanila yung rules, no, and the objective of the SENA conference, no. So, ini-ensure namin na as much as possible, hindi yan tatagal ng 15 minutes, no? Okay. More than 15 minutes. Then, no sharing of documents and pens, no? Kahit saan ito, no? Yung attendance tayo, sometimes we use only one pen, no? So, as much as possible, we bring our own pens, no? Para iwas na lang din po, no, na possible spread of the virus. And then sharing of documents, no, ito namang sharing of documents, in the conduct of our inspection, yung before the COVID po, we asked for a copy of yung kanilang payroll, no, para i-check ng ating labor inspectors. But because of the pandemic, ang nire-require na lang po natin yung establishment to submit the documents, the required documents to email na lang po, no? So iniintay na lang ng DOLE, ng mga labor inspectors yung kanilang mga payrolls kasi dinidiscourage namin yung pag-ask po ng copy ng mga documents, no, and bringing the documents to the office, no, para na rin po sa safety ng ating mga labor inspectors. So yun na yung means of getting the employment records of a particular establishment. So nire-require namin to submit through electronic mails. Then provide sanitation station within the venue, no. Okay, ito is hindi lang po ito applicable sa DOLE, but it is applicable sa lahat po ng mga establishments. And we can also observe this sa mga establishment na napuntahan natin, napasukan natin, na there is really, no, mga sanitation stations, no, meron mga alcohol dyan, mga sanitizer na nakalagay in every corner, na meron pa yan sila mga signages para to inform the public, no, na ito yung dapat, no, na gawain, no. So yun siya ang mga ito some lang man ito sa mga health standards and protocols na in-issue ng government agencies, no, para this will set as our guidelines, no, in the conduct of our conferences and hearings. In all processes and proceedings po, the minimum health standards and protocols prescribed by DOH and the COVID-19 IATF or the Interagency Task Force shall strictly be observed, no? Sa lahat po ng mga establishment, be it a government agency or a private establishment, we must have to comply with all the health protocols na pinalabas po ng IATF for our safety, no, and to prevent the spread of virus, because ang virus naman po is andyan lang yan siya, wala pa tayong, hindi pa lahat nabakunahan. So kahit pa nga nabakunahan, we have still, no, use yung face mask, face shield, and observe the minimum health protocols for our safety. So next, Mel, parang this is my last slide yata, Mel. Okay. So thank you very much for the short time na you've given me to discuss or to present DO 214 series of 2020.
Good morning, everyone. So can you hear me? And can you already see my presentation?
Yes po, yes po.
Okay, thank you very much. So I hope I can cover this within 30 minutes. Okay, sige. Okay, since this is also the new guidelines with regards to control COVID-19 in our workplaces and also sa ating mga public transport and especially to those workplaces na sa mga indoors. Okay, so the title of this is the O224 Guidelines on Ventilation for Workplaces and Public Transport to Prevent and Control the Spread of COVID-19. Okay, so this DO224, ang coverage po niya is for the commercial and industrial establishments and projects, sites or workplaces where work is being undertaken indoors. Okay, for healthcare facilities, no, hindi po siya covered because it requires special considerations in the control of COVID-19. So under section 3 of this new issue ones is the definition of terms. Okay, so this is quite technical. Letter A is the air change per hour or the ECH, no? So,
Mamyo,
yes.
medyo hinay ang audio, ma'am.
Okay, sige, I will just adjust my audio.
Better, ma'am.
Okay. Okay na?
Yes pa, yes pa.
Okay,
Okay
sige,
na.
better. Sige. Sige, this is the letter A is the air change per hour or the ACH. Okay, so this refers to the airflow to a space, no, expressed as volume per unit of time over volume of the space. Kunyari, in a given space, no, ilan ba yung, ano ba yung kanyang airflow? No? So, alam natin ang ating unit of measurement, we have two, no, the English at saka yung the metric. So if we're going to use the metric unit, so ang ating unit noon is cubic feet per minute, no? Then we multiply that by 60 because ang ating definition is kasi ay hour. So therefore 60 minutes in 1 hour. So you divide that by the volume of your space, which is the area of your space times the height. For the ano naman, for the metric, so we have here the cubic meter per second times 3,600 second, because 3,600 second in 1 hour over the volume of the space. Okay, that's how you define the air change per hour. And letter B is carbon dioxide or CO2. So if you can still remember our chemistry, no? So it refers to colorless gas formed by breakdown or burning of animal or plant matter and by the act of breath, and may be commonly used as surrogate indicator for assessing indoor air quality, no, or IAQ and ventilation efficiency. So yung atin pong ini-exhale, itong mga hininga natin, that is CO2. Okay, so this is another way of determining ang ating indoor air quality, no, through the breath expelled by the occupants in a certain area. Okay, so letter C is contaminants. It refers to airborne contaminants such as dust and other particulate matter. So the letter D is cubic feet per minute or the CFM, yung atin sa letter A kanina, no, we refer to that. It refers to unit of measurement for volume flow rate of air, no? This corresponds to a specific volume of air flowing through a channel per minute. So we'll explain that later, dito na sa section 4. But for now, definition of terms muna. And then for enclosed space, so we define that as areas that have means of entry or exit. So may siyang entrance and may exit. It is surrounded by walls and a ceiling and are designed for continuous occupancy. It may or may not have windows. Okay. Like aking sample dito, that could be freely open, include. So this may include but are not limited to meeting rooms, conference halls, ballrooms, churches, etc. So for the general ventilation, uh, it refers to a flow of air into and out of a working area to dilute any contaminants by providing fresh or natural air. So again, we have two types of general ventilation, the natural and the mechanical, no? So general ventilation can be provided through natural and mechanical means. So dilution ventilation naman is through natural, mechanical ventilation, or both should be considered as the primary engineering control. Okay? So ventilation conditions can be evaluated through measurement of ECH and CO2. So for those na-discuss ito under industrial hygiene, no? So ngayon it's very important talaga na our mga enclosed spaces, no, dapat meron siyang ventilation. So we talk of ventilation, the flow of air inside a working area. Okay, so it you have to take out the contaminated air, then there must be a supply of fresh air. So in short, there must be an air movement, no, inside the enclosed space or the working area. Okay, so this is a sample, no, letter G, natural ventilation. So it is a supply of fresh air in the building, and air is removed from the indoor space, no, without any mga dating mga workplaces, no, you just use the windows, the doors, no, to for their ventilation. Now mechanical ventilation naman refers to the use of mechanical systems such as fans, and often involves the yung HVAC, no, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning to supply, provide fresh air and extract the contaminated air. So as you see in our sample, so ano siya, may exhaust, no, to provide fresh air, okay, inside. Okay, so but it's also important na alam natin kung saan ilalagay at yung mga para efficient talaga. Then we have the letter I, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, no, HVAC system. So this refers to the technology of indoor and vehicular environmental comfort. Its goal is to provide thermal comfort and acceptable indoor air quality. Normally, this is if we are going to magpa-construct tayo ng building or for our maintenance, I know that mga yung malalaking building may mga maintenance sila nito, no, it is usually done by the mechanical engineers, no. Yan. So this is very important, especially pag building na we have to provide also HVAC system. Okay, so the high efficiency particulate air or HEPA filters, it refers to an air filtering device that has an efficiency of 99.97 filtration of particles up to 0.3 microns. So this is very good, no, nga ma-filter niya ang 0.3 microns because ang particulates na 0.70 we can already inhale that, no, papasok na siya sa ating nasal, no, passageway. So for this one, if you have HEPA filters, tapos it can filter 0.3 microns, that's very good. Then for the local air conditioning units, it refers to the window type, yan, mga ceiling mounted, floor mounted, split type, and they like that, mga that cools, dehumidifies, and recirculates indoor air. So local exhaust ventilation, okay, or we call that the LEV. It refers to a mechanical system used to control air contaminants by trapping them at or near the source. Okay. A more effective way of controlling highly para mas clear sa ato unsa ning local exhaust ventilation system. So this one is yang inside the workplaces, especially there are airborne contaminants or particulates, no, kay tungod this is part of your kanang sa inyong trabaho. So we talk of local exhaust. If you see there's kind of worker and there is a hood, no, because it's a contamination source. From the source mismo, ginasaksyon na tong mga airborne contaminants so that kanina ang explanation, it will not be breathed by the workers. No, di nila malanghap, no. And of course, there must also be a proper way on how you are going to design your local exhaust, no, para effective siya at saka efficient. So the design of this, may siyang suction duct to suck the particulates or the airborne contaminants. Then after that, there is an air cleaning device to clean the air, and then may fan naman, no, para i-suction naman siya palabas. So there is an exhaust outlet. So pag lalabas na ito na yung chine-check ng mga DENR, no, for your yung indoor air for your yung dispersed na mga air. But while inside the workplace, sa DOLE po yan. Si DOLE ang nagche-check niyan. Okay? Because ang affected dito ay mga workers. Okay? So an example nating local exhaust ventilation system. Okay. Next, another definition of terms, the MERV or the minimum efficiency reporting value. So this refers to a classification of air filtration based on their efficiency, to filter particulates. Okay. And then the objectionable air draft refers to very high or too much air movement directed straight towards the workers. Then letter O, the open air spaces refer to areas that allow free air movement from all directions, okay, and may be covered by a roof, supported by posts, and not surrounded by walls. So this may include but are limited to covered courts, yan, covered walkways, gazebos. Minsan may mga gym din na poste lang at saka roofing, no? So that is also considered open air space. Then up or other openings refer to other openings such as the roof exhauster, roof ridge opening, the lower openings or louvers or door openings. Letter Q, the qualified personnel refers to company personnel that is knowledgeable and assigned by the employer to conduct the ventilation assessments. Example, your safety officer. As I've said kanina, so sa kanilang boss training, may isang topic doon on industrial hygiene. Then, industrial hygienist. So, who are these industrial hygienists? Sila yung those who have undertaken yung training na at least 3 days, no? Alam nila kung paano gumamit ng mga work environmental measurement, analyze the result, and provide solutions. Yan. then the facilities engineer or the manager, and the HVAC contractor. Kasi yung HVAC contractor, they also determine yung pagpasok ng hangin doon sa kinoconstruct nila. Okay? Part yan ng kanilang testing. Then, ventilating fans, yun refer to the ceiling, the wall fan, and the pedestal fans. Okay? So, that is our definition of terms. Then for the section 4, okay, these are now our strategies, no? The general ventilation strategies and recommendations. Okay. So if you have non-air cons for A, letter non-air conditioned spaces. So you maximize the natural ventilation through the use of doors, windows, and other openings if possible and safe to do so, 'di ba? Ito yung natural ventilation, yung hangin galing sa labas, no? Yan ipapasok natin. Then number 2, ensure that the natural air brought into the workplace is free of contaminants. Kaya baka naman open ka yung mga windows natin at saka yung mga doors pero may mga contaminants sa labas, no? May mga harmful din na mga particulates outside, no? Then therefore if natural ventilation is not feasible or inadequate, you can use the fans and air conditioning system to supply fresh and extract contaminated air, no? Yan ang gagamitin natin, no, as mechanical ventilation. So dilution ventilation also must be done, no, through the use of exhaust fans to achieve an air change or rate of 6 to 12 ECH. So remember our formula kanina, yung for the air change rate. So if you compute that, umabot ka na ng 6, so up to 12, pasado na yun siya. Okay? So pasado siya. Then while also maximizing natural ventilation through the use of doors, windows, and other openings. Okay, if possible and safe to do so. So you can dilute, no, the contaminated air inside your workplaces. Okay, so the exhaust fans, yan. If you have exhaust fans, it should be kept continuously open as much as possible. But also exhaust fan also dapat must be computed din siya kasi baka malaki masyadong area ninyo tapos maliit lang yung exhaust fan ninyo or nag-iisa lang and it's not sufficient, no, to really extract the contaminated air inside your workplace. Okay, so number 5, if the use of ventilating fans is unavoidable, no, halimbawa yung mga electric fan natin, you must increase outdoor air changes by opening windows and other openings. So if you're using these ventilating fans, so it is advised that open pa rin natin yung mga windows or the doors, okay? So the airflow direction or movement should be considered in the layout of workstations to avoid person-to-person viral spread, no, through airborne respiratory droplets. So napalabas to, maybe they have studied na talagang yung one of the way na pwede makontaminate ng COVID is sa mga no, through air, pwede siyang airborne, no, respiratory droplets. So for the airflow direction, paano niyo ma-determine yan? So we have also mga means, no, to determine, we have instruments to determine airflow direction or movement. And even yung air velocity. Yan. Of course, the conduct of weekly cleaning of windows, other openings, and ventilating fans is also necessary. Okay? Yan. So, dapat also, we should also instruct our mga janitorial services on the proper way of kanang cleaning and disinfecting our workplaces. Okay, so now, I think most of our offices are now air-conditioned, di ba? So, for HVAC systems, okay, Outdoor air supply, yan, should conform to the recommended breathing zone ventilation rates for the purpose of general air dilution and comfort control. Yan. So ngayon, maybe it's about time siguro you contact your ano no yung mga ano sa maintenance ninyo no for to determine no yung air supply is okay pa ba siya ano nalilinisan ba yung mga HVAC natin. So that is part ng ating program on preventive maintenance, di ba? Number 2, run the ventilation system for at least 30 minutes before and after spaces are occupied. So number 2, no? So before tayo magpapasok, halimbawa we are in the malls, ganon, dapat nakatakbo na siya ng 30 minutes no, before natin siya papasukin. Or even in our offices, no? Yan. Then number 3, in workplaces that only have local air conditioning units, okay, dilution, ventilation may be done through the use of exhaust fans. Okay. Yan. So, unfilters, MERV 13 or higher, or yung HEPA filter rating, no, applicable to the unit may be installed. Okay. Hindi sasabi ko kanina na yung ating exhaust fan, no, it must be relative to the volume of the room. Okay. To acquire the breathing zone minimum ventilation rates. Okay. Where ventilation is greatly recirculated, no, pabalik-balik na yung hangin. Minsan mapansin natin, no, if nasa room tayo, mas napuno tayo ng electric fan, parang mainit pa rin, no? Parang ang humidity andun pa na umiikot lang, no? Okay? Because ang hangin noon nag-recirculate lang, no? Meron tayong principle na hot air rises. So we must also take advantage of that no principle, no? Na kailangan dapat ilabas yung mga hot air or mga contaminated air. Okay. However, if outside air is not feasible, no, you can use filters such as HEPA filtration air purifiers, di ba? Kasi kanina, as we discussed, kanina sa ating definition of terms, it can filter up to 0.3 microns and can be used to clean recirculated air. So again, provided that the unit is adequate for the size of the room in which it is installed. Tapos meron ka din proper maintenance, no? And you read also the manufacturer recommendations of these devices or maybe the supplier, no? Kunyari, you give the volume of your room, no? Then you ask them kung ilang HEPA filtration air purifier ba ang kakailangan ninyo. And number 5, if you have air conditioning units, yung lower niya, no, ano natin, upward position, no? Paakyat yung kanyang lower to prevent the airflow, no, from one person to another. Kasi kung direct yan, baka yung unang natamaan ng hangin, ano siya, man siya mga symptoms, no, or other mga airborne na mga respiratory droplet, pwede matapon doon sa next person, no? Okay. Yan. So I think may studies ito in other countries na sa isang kainan, no, na mas magkalayo yung dalawang customer, but then because of the positioning of the air conditioning units, nahawa yung isa. Okay. The number 6.
Ma'am Yo, ang
Yes.
Ma'am Yo, wala nag-move.
Ay, sorry. Okay. Tayo. Number 5 na tayo, no? Yan. Keep the louvers of local air conditioning in an upward position. Yan. Ibaba natin yan ng ating louvers. Then, frequently clean also ating mga air conditioning units. Okay? So, meron kayong dapat na program, no? Programa natin na sa paglilinis, no? Establish a cleaning and maintenance program for mechanical system. Okay? Dapat walang mga molds or stagnant water, no, na ma-circulate doon. Okay? So, filters must be changed when necessary. Then, of course, the maintenance must use also the proper personal protective equipment. Okay. So the local exhaust ventilation naman, letter C, okay, shall conform to the existing local code. Okay? So it shall have the nasa National Building Code to, no, sa atong mechanical sa mechanical code. So may siyang, as discussed kanina, napakita ko kanina, may siyang components na hoods, yan, ductworks, yung ducting, tapos air cleaning device. After cleaning it, may naman siyang blower para maipalabas doon sa exhaust stack. Okay? Yan. And all installed LEV shall be equipped with a proper air cleaning device, no? Baka kasi may stock din doon ang mga yung mga tawag noon na yung mga contaminants, no? So to treat, filter, and minimize airborne contaminants being exhausted to the atmosphere, lalabas din siya doon sa exhaust. Okay. So continuous operation of LEVs when workers are present in order to allow additional air change in the workplace. Okay. Ensure that running hoods of LEVs are properly secured when not being used during a specific operation to avoid disruption. Okay. For the restrooms and water closets, no, may bago na naman tayong protocol nito. Okay, no, ensure that exhaust fans and restroom facilities are functional and operational at full capacity whenever the building is occupied. Okay? Ang iba naman, they have windows. You can also open the windows in your yung mga restrooms. Okay. So when the water closets are used, no? Yan, ang instruction dito before you are going to flush it, dapat nakababa yung toilet bowl seat na lid, yung cover niya, no? Kung merong cover, no, before flushing, dapat naka-close bucket, di ba? Mapansin niyo pag when you're going to flush, may siyang umaakit na tubig, may mga hangin din siya na disperse. Okay? So the release of this might contain mga kuan din contaminated air, no, caused by flushing. Okay. And inside the restroom, it is not recommended to use hand blowers or jet dryers kasi nga may hangin ding lumalabas. It might contribute to the dispersion of potentially contaminated air inside the restroom. So, if not no siya recommended, so mga disposable na mga toilet paper ang gagamitin or mga ano toilet napkins. Okay. Ang iba naman, they use also yung mga yung para recycled material, no? Yan. Section 5, yung ventilation concerns for our public transport. Okay, so naka-align lang ito siya sa requirement ng LTFRB, okay? MC 2020-061 and also yung sa DOHDM 2020-0429 and also sa DOLE DTI GMC number 2004-A, if you remember, yung if the establishments may sila mga shuttles, no, provided sa mga employees. Yan. It just reiterates those issuances. Okay, number 1, provide natural ventilation and access to open air. Yan. And avoid using the recirculated air option for the vehicle's ventilation during passengers transport. Saan dito yung yung recirculated air doon sa ating sasakyan. So if you see this yung symbol, no, parang sa sasakyan parang may arrow pabalik, it means kung na-push natin yan, you push the recirculated air option. No, it's not discourage the gagamitin natin yung recirculated air. Okay? Then ensure ito. Again, yung pag-open naman ng ating mga ng ating windows at least 3 inches, no, while in transit. Yan. So then proper maintenance sa mga filters ng ating air conditioning units And then for rail and road transport, okay, impose a minimum of 15 seconds for the opening of doors for passengers exit and entry. Then, ito yung minimum public health standards. Suot pa rin natin ating mga face mask, face shields at all times. Strictly follow the frequent disinfection before and after completing a route. Then, yung pa rin 1 seat apart distance, no? Required pa rin siya. So, do not allow passengers to sit beside each other, no, unless plastic barriers are installed between them. So, maski na may plastic barriers, kailangan pa rin itong nadi-disinfect palagi. Okay? Then, mag-post doon sa sasakyan ng COVID-19 information materials. Ito, reiterated, no, to sa bago, no, bawal, no, mag-answer ng phones or tatawag or having conversation with co-passengers. Yan, while inside the public transport. Bawal din ang kumain, uminom sa loob ng public transport. And of course, do not allow symptomatic passengers on board. Okay. Section 6 is on ventilation assessment. Okay, so it is the employer's responsibility to maintain an acceptable and safe indoor air quality. So we have two types of assessment, the qualitative assessment and the quantitative assessment. So for the qualitative assessment, okay, so mating dito sa DO 224, may siyang Annex 1, no? If you can do, parang checklist lang siya to do the assessment. So the safety officer can do that, no, for self-assessment of their workplaces. Okay? So another one is the safety officer or the qualified personnel, no, shall ensure that the ventilation system is working, no, or functioning. Okay? During the conduct of assessment. Siyempre, hindi mo naman siya ma-assess kung hindi umaandar yung ventilation system ninyo. So that is in order to determine how air enters and exits from the space. So other measures, no, could include but not limited, no, according to our feeling na lang to, no, lingering smell. Oh, pag may mga amoy naglilinger, no, hindi siya nawawala kaagad. Okay, that could be one way to assess. Parang feeling mo heavy yung room, no, stuffiness of room, or masyadong humid, no, there is a high humidity or smokiness of room, no. That is part of the qualitative assessment. Number 3, the use of natural or mechanical ventilation or the combination thereof depends on the ventilation assessment conducted by a trained safety officer or ventilation or indoor air quality specialist. Okay. So for quantitative naman, assessment, okay, yan. For air movement, ang directional flow, no, and objectionable air draft shall be considered also. Okay. Airflow direction should be from cleaner source to prevent contaminant transmission. Okay. So, CO2, no, is also used as surrogate. Sabi natin kanina sa definition of terms, CO2 can be used as a surrogate indicator, no, for assessing the indoor air quality and ventilation efficiency. Okay? 'Di ba kasi normally ating ginagamit na ano nito na equipment is the anemometer, the may mga different mga yung tawag nito yung sa air movement natin na instrument, no? Usually the anemometer po 'yon, yung sa pag-determine din ng air velocity, no? However, another way is the use of the CO2, no? Meron tayong carbon dioxide na monitoring device, no, to use, no? So pag sa ating sa ating reading, no, since it is direct reading naman siya, no, you don't have to compute. Pag nag-exceed na siya ng 1,000 parts per million, ibig sabihin nito, mataas na yung concentration ninyo. Okay, it should be less than that. Okay? Yan. So, whatsoever your carbon dioxide, no? So, pag calibrated siya, dapat mo siyang certificate of calibration. If we are going to use the CO windows, doors, and other openings. Okay? Okay. So, yan. So, sabi daw, no, na may isang note dito na the use of indoor plants, di ba? Alam natin yan, and indoor gardens will convert the carbon dioxide to oxygen. So, the carbon dioxide, ini-exhale natin, and we breathe in oxygen. So, therefore, if you have mga plants inside, no, mga plantita, no, at least it will lessen the carbon dioxide in your workspace. And then, of course, you have there mas maraming oxygen in your area. So, this is a segue lang. This is a study by the Malaysian government. Nagkuha sila randomly ng mga tanim, and they conduct sila ng test, no, sa mga nakuha nila ng mga tanim, and they learn na these plants na to, at ito yung absorption rate nila, no. Yan, for this Dieffenbach na tanim, no, 23.90, ano ang pangalan nito? We have Anthurium, yung kilala ko, 21.2 daw ang kanyang absorption power. Then the spider plant, and then 0.50, etc. Okay, you can also put this in our desk, our table. Then number 3, so we have also Annex 3 on how to determine the ECH, or the tawag nito yung how are you going to compute the air change, no, na rate in your particular area. So quantitative ventilation measurements shall be performed. So if you're going to, for internal, no, meron kayong trained safety officer, especially those who have undergone the training on industrial hygiene or WEM, no, the use of WEM instrument, then industrial hygiene training, or HS personnel of the company, okay, pa nila magawa yan, no, kung wala kayong capacity, no, yung kung wala din capacity ang company, they can request the DOLE Occupational Safety and Health Center, or by the DOLE accredited WEM service providers. Kasi may accredit si DOLE na mga WEM service providers. Okay? Then Section 7, as provided for in the DTI DOLE GMC number 24-A, okay, yung the OSH committee natin, okay, or safety officer of the workplace, overseeing the enforcement and monitoring of the minimum public health standards for COVID-19 prevention in the workplace, it shall include in its OSH program, no? Kasali siya yung monitoring and evaluation on the implementation of these guidelines, at least on a monthly basis. So meron monthly basis na siya, no, as frequently as possible. Depende doon siguro sa dami ng tao inside in a certain area. Okay? Based on the assessment and recommendation of the OSH committee. So, the DOLE regional office shall also monitor compliance with these guidelines, no? Other government agencies shall likewise conduct its own monitoring based on their regulatory functions as applicable. Okay, in case of violation or non-compliance, okay, the applicable sanctions, penalties under pertinent laws, rules, and regulations shall be imposed. Okay, so the rendering of technical assistance, the DOLE, DOH, DTI, DPWH, DILG, Department of Transportation, Tourism, the private sector, partners shall extend technical assistance and support the employers and workers and in all workplaces in complying with this guideline. So kung medyo mahirapan, so you can seek technical assistance from these different agency or other private sector partners natin. Okay, so these guidelines shall take effect immediately, and this was signed last March 3, 2021. Presentation, maybe they can ask na lang na after
Yes
matapos
po.
natin ng lecture. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes po, Ma'am Yo. Thank you, Ma'am Yoli, no, for that informative presentation. No, that is very timely, no, especially with the situation that we are in right now. So thank you.
I'd like also to solicit from the participants. Good morning muna pala sa kanilang lahat. I'd like to congratulate the TSSD Kimel for having we have a very good number of participants in this seminar. Thank you so much for your time.